Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I am feeling so much better than either of my last videos. I feel like myself again. It is the Tuesday after February vacation. So I had a week off up here in the Northeast. That's how we usually do it. We do a February vacation and then an April vacation instead of one spring vacation in March. So now we have the 7 weeks between February and April vacation to kind of trudge through, and then it's basically the end of the year. That's just how it goes. But I wanted to share a few different things that we are up to. I figure this week I'll just pop in a few days throughout the week to kind of share what's going on. We are learning all different units than we were before break, so I figured this would be a good time to kind of share what I'm teaching, some different activities we are doing to help teach those units, and I even switched up a few different things that we normally do, especially with my literacy centers. So I wanted to share that this morning. Let me pull up the slides so you can see. Okay, so first and foremost, we are introducing a new genre of reading during reading time. We are introducing procedural writing. So yesterday we read How to Make Bubbles, and we talked about just some of the different things that we see in how-to writing. We had like an ingredients or a what we need list, and then we had directions that go ahead and follow a specific order. So we have some other books that we'll be reading throughout the week. Some will be fiction books, some will be nonfiction. And then normally, right after that, I will have, if you've been following my videos, I will have them respond to the text in some sort of way here. And then they go and do a seesaw activity and then epic while I meet with my small groups. I took out the names here just because there were so many that the whole screen would be blurred. But instead of responding to the text, what I'm going to have students do is I have some different phonics activities that I actually have students do during this time. And I introduced it yesterday and I think it went really well. So I just wanted to explain kind of what each one is. Now, since the names aren't here, I'll kind of lay it out for you. Over here, there are 3 students in this group, and this is my first meeting with me station. During reading centers time, I meet with 2 groups of students. So there's this slide, and then there's the next slide. And there's 3 students in the first group, 3 students in the second group. And I will explain that in a second. And then over here, I have anywhere between 2 to 4 students in each of these groups that they'll be working on each one. So let me just show you. The first one is Find the Fish, which I've shared before. The second one is Roll, Read, and Keep. I think roll, say, keep. I'll show you that too. These are going to be my task cards, and this is going to be an independent activity. So all of these are stored back here. Let me show you. The first one, Find the Fish, is something I've shared numerous times before, but I really need my students to practice their heart words. We are having some trouble both reading and writing them. So this activity, as I've shared before, I have this little stand here. This has been in my office for years, and it's great for this type of activity. So what students will do is we go over each of the heart words real quickly so they can read them, and then they take turns hiding the fish behind one. And then students will have to go ahead and guess. So they'll say, who? That person's like, nope, it's not there. They flip it over. And then, they keep saying the word until they find the fish. So each week I'm going to keep the same words on here and then change it out each week. So my goal is to keep the same exact type of centers. So we're not doing a ton of, prep each time. So Find the Fish will always be a center, and I'll just print out a new sheet of the words that students are working on. Now, the dice one is over here, so let me show you. I almost always have my easel facing this way because this is the anchor chart, but on the other side, we have, here it is, Roll it, read it, and take it. Now, this one, instead of with heart words, we are using words that are currently in our unit. So we are working on silent E words. So here, students have a big dice. Let me see. I put it up here for easy keeping. And I will actually just, turn this around, and students will play on the rug over there. But they simply roll the dice on the floor. If they get a 6, they need to pick one of the words from over here, and they will have to read it aloud. If they say it correctly, their partner checks them. They get to keep the word. And then they just keep playing. And then at the very end, they see who has collected the most words. So another just quick decoding game. Again, just like with Find the Fish, I will keep the game the same every week. Oh, that was blinding. And just change out the words based on what we are learning. So next week, we're going to be continuing to learn about silent E. but I'll just change out the words so they have different ones to practice. Now the third one, let me just look at my screen here. The third one is the task cards. So I've been trying to find a more consistent way to use all the task cards I've been creating. We've been kind of using them here and there throughout the week, but this really helps. So let me show you. Another one of the bins I have back here is my task cards. Now for this week, I have all of the silent E ones. These ones, I don't think they're new. I think they've been in there for a while, but here we have tub plus E, and they have to color in or circle the correct word. Rob plus E is robe, can plus E is cane. Here we have find it. Some visual discrimination where they have to look at all the words and see which one's spelled correctly. This one, they are listening for the correct sound. So tape, they hear A, they need to circle the A. And then these two are similar, but this one is complete the word, where one letter is missing, and it could be any letter in the word. It could be the E on the end, it could be the O. So they have to really look through the whole word. And then this one is fill it in. And this one, they have to complete just the vowel. So the E is highlighted to point out that that silent E is there, and we're listening for that vowel sound. So these are the ones that I'm having students complete this week. Now, I do like this because I did create the groups and partnerships specifically. So if I need to, go down and maybe my students are still working on blends or they're not ready to apply this yet, then I can just switch out the task cards with ones that they might need for that time, but I'm really going to try to have everybody work on this first. And then that last station is independent work. Now I like this because I can really put anything in there. This week I put a phonics activity that I will show you, but I could continue doing that response to the reading. Now those groups are going to change each day. So each day my students will have one activity that they're doing, whether it's find the fish or roll it, read it, take it. And then when they're done with that, they will still go to Seesaw and Epic. So here is what I chose to do for the independent station this week. For this week, we are, again, I really want my students to practice the silent E. It was a little bit tricky for them. So here we have fire, bike, pipe, and lime. And this students just have to cut out the letters, they have to put them in the correct order, and then they have to write the word on the line. So this is something that they would do independently and then turn it in the turn it in bin. And I know I already said this, but I've just been keeping them back here. So that way during Literacy Center time, they can just come grab what they need. Every group also has a place where they know that they are playing. My roll it, read it, take it. Like I said, turn that around real quick and they play right there on the rug. My find the fish group goes over to the reading corner over there. My task card groups take this bin and they go to the white table there. And then of course my independent station comes and grabs their paper and they go to their seats to complete it. This is helpful because I, during this time, am meeting with my groups right here. Now I had mentioned that I do 2 slides of this. So what happens is during Find the Fish, they will play this game for the first full rotation, right? Because otherwise they could keep playing forever. Roll it, say it, keep it, however, roll it, read it, keep it, whatever it's called. They will play that until the game is done. The task cards they will continue doing until this timer is up, and this they will continue until it is done. Then they put it in the turn it in bin and they go to Seesaw. Now I have a bunch of these say it, build it, write it type of activities where they'll see a picture, they have to go ahead and build the word over in Seesaw. So they will go do that and then they can go to Epic if there is time. Now during the second slide, I won't change the screen because I kept all the names on there. This group here is interchangeable with one of the other groups. So yesterday it was this group because I meet the same 2 groups. So I make sure that those groups are together. One will be here, one will be here. That way during the next 10-minute timer, they just switch. So they will leave my back table and they will go ahead and do their activity, while this group, when they're done and the 10-minute time is up, they will simply come to my back table and we can keep going through. Like I said, I introduced this yesterday and I actually really enjoyed the way that it went. I liked that while I do really enjoy the response to the reading that I've been having students do, some students kind of fly through it and others it takes a really long time for them to get their ideas out. But I also like that I can simply keep some sort of response to reading in that independent station. Now, so there's 4 different stations, which means my students will complete this Monday through Thursday. So they only have one each day and then the groups rotate for today. So they did one yesterday, they'll do another one today, and then they have a different seesaw activity every single day that they do. That's the same as last time. So I think on Friday, I will still always have them do a response to reading, and we'll do it all together, whether it's a retelling or a share some facts you learned, some sort of response that way. Just to keep it going. And then that way too, with 4 different rotations, if we have a half day one time, or if we have, a skipped day of school or whatever, if something interrupts this time, we can just continue our rotation until all students have met all 4 groups. But yeah, I really like the way that this is going so far. It's only been one day. So I will check in next week and kind of just let you know how it's been going. But I don't know how you run your literacy centers. I don't know if they're similar to this. Let me know down in the comments, but I think I really like the way this is going. As for why I changed it up, another reason other than I explained that kind of some of my students have been finishing the response really quickly, some it takes too long. One reason is I really wanted my students with more phonics practice than they were actually having. With that response to reading, with that taking 15 minutes, I do think that some of my students could benefit from more phonics practice during that time. And also, we had a big PD a couple weeks ago where we were talking about literacy centers and trying to streamline them throughout not just the grade level, but also through K through 2. So for example, most of the teachers in the class have that roll it, read it, take it game. We made those posters, we came up with word lists, and that way students in kindergarten are playing it, they know how to play it, and it's ready for them in 1st grade, and same with 2nd grade. And again, they're easy where it can kind of just replace the words and students already know how to play. And I like that it's a more consistent way for my students to use their task cards. So again, really like it now. I will check in a couple weeks and let you know how it's been going. All right, let me pop over and tell you what we're doing in math. So I think today I shared my literacy centers. I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing in math. And then, like I said, I'll hop in throughout the week and just share some different fun activities. So let's pull up the slides for math. First, we have our math warm-up. Now, I just did a video on different ways I love to spiral review different skills. Sorry, that word is tricky to say. Because many of my students have not mastered each skill before I need to move on to the next. So I'm constantly wanting my students to practice. I told you this before, but most of my students have not mastered addition and subtraction within 20. And time is another one that many of my students got to the hour, but to the half hour was still tricky. So our math warm-ups are going to be time related for this week. So I have, what time would you go home from school? So I need students to look at both clocks. We'll determine what time each one says, and then they'll talk with the partner about which one would be a time they go home from school and why. And then the next one is, what time would you eat lunch? We have 5:30 or 12 o'clock. Again, they'll do the same type thing. Now, yesterday we introduced grouping by tens and we played scoop and group. Here is a picture of how we play, where basically students got groups of items. We talked about how it's faster to group everything into tens and then count the ones. So we played that game with a partner. So here is another little warm up where it says, how could I figure out how many cubes are here? And I will listen to all the different student responses about how they might group these items to make it faster to count. Hopefully they're saying by tens and ones. And then again, today's like a review day where we are going to group items by tens to count more easily. Yesterday we did scoop and group, but today we're going to do race to 50, where we're going to practice again counting by making groups of 10. So here they will get that little sheet there, player 1 and player 2. They will simply roll a die, add that many cubes, and every time they get a 10, they have to go ahead and stack it. Now, some of my friends are going to be playing with base 10 cubes instead of connecting cubes. But during this game, I'm going to tell them that every, few minutes or so, I'm going to say hands up, and they have to put their hands up, and then they have to quickly count up how many they have. And I really emphasize that when they're doing this, they need to count the tens first. So this person would need to say 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I have 17. And I'll be kind of rushing around the classroom to listen to these different responses. So that game, Race to 50, is, nothing new. It's been around for a million years, but it's another great way for them to practice that unitizing, that grouping by 10, counting by tens, and counting on. And just in a different way than scoop and group yesterday, where we kind of had them in piles in groups of 10. This really lets them see that we can connect it, or we have that base 10 rod, where they have the 10 all together. And I always emphasize, should I see you counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? No, we just see it and we say 10 right away. So yeah, we've got silent E is what we're teaching in phonics. We've got new literacy centers, and we are teaching place value within 40 for this week. So we do have some other activities that I will pop in tomorrow and share with you. So I will see you then. Good morning, happy Wednesday. I wanted to pop in. I told you this week I'd be popping in a few days and just let you know what we've been up to in class. Yesterday I told you about our new literacy centers. I can tell you after day 2, I am loving it so far. Everybody seems really engaged. They seem like they know where they're going. And I think that extra phonics practice is really going to help. So I'm very happy with that switch. I also shared about math yesterday. I know I told you we are working on unitizing and making groups of 10 when we are counting. I don't remember if I told you what we played yesterday, but we did my race to 50 game. I think I mentioned it. And instead of using connecting cubes, I used place value cubes, base 10 blocks, with most of my groups. And then some of my groups, they did the connecting cubes. But I actually think I did talk about that yesterday because I mentioned how I stopped in the middle and I was like, freeze, and then had them count up what they had. And they had a lot of fun with that. They did a great job with that. So today in math, we are going into kind of directly talking about place value. The other 2 games have just been like, how can we count these big numbers? We can group them by 10s and then 1s. But today we're going to really explicitly talk about place value, and if we have if we have 2 10s and 5 1s, what does that number look like? We'll build it on place value mats. We'll do some basic adding with like 30 plus 7, things like that. A little update on our sound wall and how far we have come. We've got all of our short vowels, digraphs, our glued sounds, bonus letters. Before break, we did our R-controlled vowels, and here we have silent E, which is what we are working on this week. If you've been following, you already know that all of the cards, the pictures I chose, align to foundations because that is what we are using. I do have all of these free. I'll go ahead and link them down in my description in case you want to grab them. But I have all of them free with the little header because this is how I've displayed it this year, and it's really worked. And students actually like turn around and use it when they need to spell things. So I have enjoyed it. We also had another literacy curriculum review meeting yesterday, so I wanted to give you a little update on that, and then I was thinking I would share what we are doing in writing, because we are actually finishing up opinion writing, and next week we are going to start procedural writing, which will align with what we are doing in reading. So first, let's do an update on literacy, and then I'll tell you about writing. I do real quick want to tell you that this summer I am actually presenting at the Educator Summit. It is a virtual conference with tons of great sessions, and it's a great thing to do over the summer because you don't have to travel anywhere. You can do it all from your home in your pajamas, and there's just so many great sessions. I actually presented for them in the winter, and it was a wonderful experience. I did a whole writing session. And this summer I'm doing an entire math session. So here's a little picture right here. I will go ahead and put the link down in the description in case you are interested. You can see all the other sessions they have. My session this summer is going to be on math. So just a bunch of fun ways to review math skills throughout the year. I've shared a few of them here on YouTube, but other ones I'm kind of saving for that presentation. So if you want to check it out, just go ahead and click down below. Okay, so just a little debrief on our literacy curriculum process and where we are so far. So I had mentioned in my last video when I gave you an update that we got rid of Wonders. We kind of took it off the table. And this is for a couple of reasons. Number one, we are a little bit tricky in the fact that our district is K through 6. So we are really looking for something that aligns K through 6 and not K through 5. And the newest version of Wonders is K through 5, not K through 6. So we would be fine if something has like a partner program that also is like 6 to 8, but Wit and Wisdom doesn't. So that was, or not Wit and Wisdom, sorry, Wonders. Wonders does not. So we kind of took that off the table. And also there was a little bit of concern about diversity of texts that were included in Wonders. So with many other options that we had, we just decided to take that one off the table. So I told you before that we kind of talked about what we are most looking for. Again, we got together with the teachers and we decided what would be like our ideal program. And then we basically created a rubric that we will now grade each of these curriculums against based on our wishes and our desires. And again, we are super clear that there's not going to be a perfect curriculum, which is where our training, our science of reading training, along with just great knowledge about trying to teach vocabulary and language comprehension, we're going to have to use that regardless of what program we have. So we're just trying to find the best thing that will work for the most amount of people, the most amount of teachers in our district. So what that means is over the next 5 or 6 weeks, we have set up publisher meetings. So we are going to do them in this order. We are first going to meet with EL Education, and they're just going to do their little pitch. We know it's like a sales pitch, so we need to kind of listen to it, take it all in, do our own research on the side, and then we will debrief. So we're going to meet with 2 publishers, and then we'll have a debrief session, and then another 2 publishers and a debrief. So EL Education is first. The week after, we are meeting with MyView. Then we'll have a debrief to talk about those 2, see if we can remove one from consideration, or if we like them both, we'll just see. And then after that, we have CKLA coming in, and then into reading the following week. And then again, another debrief. Now, Wit and Wisdom is one that we talked about yesterday. Wit and Wisdom is, we're going to kind of like wait and see, because with Wit and Wisdom, we would obviously have to also adopt a foundational skills program. And the thought of piloting 2 different types of programs in the K through 2, it seems like a lot, and adopting them all. So we're just going to kind of wait and see. We're also going to see how Foundations lands when it comes to the Massachusetts legislature in terms of what they are accepting. Right now, Foundations will probably be out of the running. So we have to see. That one's a wait and see. We're going to meet with the others. I think it was MyView. I feel like MyView, from what I've just seen on the internet, does not have the best reviews. So we're going to go into everything with an open mind and kind of see where we end up. But that is where we are at in our process, and I will, as always, keep you updated. Any questions, let me know down in the comments. All right, now let's talk about writing. I told you we are finishing up our opinion writing. We've been doing this for like a month and a half now, maybe even longer. Not exactly sure. I showed you before our anchor chart, so I'm going to show you that and kind of talk about what we have done so far, and then what I'm doing this week as our last week to kind of assess and see how far they've come. So I know I've shared this before, but this was our opinion anchor chart that we kind of built and kept working on throughout this unit. So first, of course, we talked about what an opinion is and how we have many of them, and we also spent a long time differentiating facts from opinions. And then we talked about how when we share an opinion, we can state it using a sentence starter. Now, we used a bunch of these. These are the 3 we kind of landed on for students to reference back to the whole time. We can say, I think, I believe, in my opinion. And, we spent a few days on doing just this, sharing different opinions, making sure we pick different starters and give a complete sentence. And then after we got used to that, we learned how we can provide reasons to support our opinions. And then I put the words first and next here just to show them that we should kind of like start our sentence with something. So like, I think reading is a fun activity. First, I enjoy, whatever the reason is. So we gave reasons to support the opinion, and we talked about why that's important to help people understand why that's our opinion, because we don't all have the same opinion. And then last but not least, we also talked about kind of wrapping up our opinion by giving a conclusion. And again, we did this with some starters here that they can refer back to. As you can see, now you know, and that is why. So throughout a few weeks, we kind of did fact and opinion, what an opinion is, doing a complete sentence where we state our opinion, providing 2 reasons, and then giving a conclusion. And so we scaffolded it in that way, where we would start with just being able to write this, then we're going to write this and add these, then we're going to write this, add these, and a conclusion. We did all of that together, of course, so I would, share how to state my opinion. I would model it. I would write it on the board, and then I would ask students to go ahead and share their opinions. And we did a lot of that with different prompts, and then we continued to do that as we added some reasons, and then we added conclusions. So a lot of it was done together, where I model it, and then I have them go practice it on their own. This week, since it's the very last week, I want to walk them through the entire writing process where they are choosing their own opinion. So let me show you kind of what we've been doing. Come back over here. I shared this before when we talked about our personal narratives, but here we have my writing process posters. I've been doing them one at a time because I kind of walk through each step. So our first day, we went ahead and brainstormed some opinions that we have, especially now that my students know what their opinions are. We recognize that we have a lot of them. And then yesterday we took one of those opinions and we planned it out with reasons. So I can take my idea and plan out what I want to share. So I will grab a writing folder from one of my students so I can show you what that looks like and then tell you what we will be doing today. Here we have our writing folders, trying to block out his name up there. I've showed you this before, but inside we have their very own soundboard. They have just some letters that they can look at for letter formation. They have all the heart words that they'll learn in foundations that we've gone over. And then we also have the CUPS checklist that we use all the time. So for the brainstorming section, and this is all from the SJT Literacy Club, we kind of just talked about how we have so many different opinions. So we have the best blank is, and I just picked a category here. We all wrote food, and then I had students share some of their favorite foods. This guy said apples, bananas, strawberries, and salad. Nice, healthy guy. Then we had comparisons. We talked about how sometimes we said something is better than something else. So he said soccer is better than golf, basketball is better than tennis. Then we talked about things that we love and things that we don't like. We talked a lot throughout this unit about how we can have positive opinions and we can have negative opinions as well. So he loves his computer and his dirt bike, and he doesn't like mean people. I agree. So that was on day one when we did our brainstorm. And then yesterday we kind of looked over our opinions and we picked just one that we wanted to write about and we circled it. So he is going to do his about his dirt bike. That's going to be his opinion that he decides to share. So we go over to our planning part, and right here, I always have them plan out their opinion and reasons first. I don't do the closing yet because I do that at the end. I'll explain that after. So his opinion, and he had to start with a sentence starter. I believe dirt biking is a fun activity. And then we have our reasons. First, I like to dirt bike and go off the ramps. Next, it is fun to go fast. So this was kind of his next steps in terms of planning out what he wants to write. Today, let me grab the booklets, show you what it looks like. Now, this is very similar to the personal narratives that we did, and I love doing it this way, especially for just like our final piece of each type of genre. So now what he's going to do today, or what everybody's going to do today, he's going to take his opinion and his two reasons, and he's going to stretch it across the booklet because we're going to make our own opinion books. So his opinion, he's going to copy straight from here down to here. I believe dirt biking is a fun activity, and he'll draw a picture to match. Then he'll say, first, I like to dirt bike and go off the ramps. He'll draw it here, and I will be, of course, modeling this with my own. I've explained this before, but as I go through each step, before I send students off to do it by themselves, I do the entire thing on my own. So I filled out all these examples to show them what mine would look like. And then I also picked one. I picked reading is a fun and relaxing activity. That was my opinion. And then I gave two reasons why. So I'm going to go ahead and take my paper and stretch it across the pages. And then I'll send them off to do it themselves. So then he'll go to the next page and do his last reason. Next, it is fun to go fast. And we'll talk a lot today about how the picture is going to match what their reasons are. So you're not going to have the same picture on each page because we have different reasons to support that opinion. Let me put this back over in today's writing folder. And then on Thursday, tomorrow, we will talk about what is missing from our opinion writing. We'll look at our anchor chart. We'll see that we stated our opinion. We provided two reasons. This is a good self-check for students too, to be like, wait, we don't have a conclusion. So that is when we will take our last piece of blank paper. I have the same paper, but it's just one. It's like an extra one. And they will go ahead and come up with we'll have them verbally state it out loud, their closing sentence, and then they will write it down and we will staple it to the book. I really like this act of like kind of adding to a book. It shows how like we revised, we can add more. I just like the physical act of doing that. And then after that, of course, we will go ahead and edit our entire thing using the cups, and we will revise it. We kind of do a loose revising. We basically just double check that it has all the parts that we need of an opinion writing piece. And as long as it does, we are good to go. And then when they are done with all 4 pages of their book, I shared this with the personal narratives, but I like to have them go into Seesaw and they actually read their book and they flip through the pages. And so they're reading it to somebody at home. It makes them really proud of their work when they know they're reading it out loud to somebody. It just gives them like an extra purpose to make it really good and really ready for someone else to read. It gives them an authentic audience. So I'll have them open up their Seesaw, they'll go over to a quiet spot in the classroom, turn on video, and they'll read the whole thing. It's really, really cute. And then I know I mentioned this a little bit yesterday, but we just started this week a new genre of reading. We're starting procedural writing. So we've read How to Make Bubbles, and then we read this How to Make Your Own Fun book with Elephant and Piggy and Pigeon and Mo. And we actually followed some of the directions to start making our own little book. We're going to continue this today. So they're going to get to follow the steps in here to make their own little book. And this is going to be basically a great intro because we get to dive into the books first. Sorry, I wanted to flip it back to me. But they get to dive into the books first. That way next week in writing, when I introduce that we are going to write our own procedural books, we already have a background of it. We've got to see some mentor texts, and of course we'll explicitly make that connection and we'll talk about those books, but they've already seen it, they've heard it, they understand some of the parts that it needs, and it really kicks off our unit. So then we'll do about 3 weeks of how-to writing, which I will go ahead and explain next week or whenever we get into it. All right, I actually feel like I explained a lot the last couple days, so I think I'm going to end this vlog here. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video and got some ideas. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and make sure you subscribe to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of all the new videos. Any questions, always drop them in the comments and I try to answer them as fast as I can. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.